Most of the businesses that I work on are startup, mostly because I believe in encouraging entrepreneurship in the Philippines. I'm a bit of a nerd, so I took my master's in climate and society at Columbia University because I really believe that as an entrepreneur and as a citizen, in the future, what's happening in terms of climate change will affect us all. The thing about education is, it's a tool. And like any other tool, unless it's used properly, it's completely useless. When you go around for politics, you also meet a lot of businessmen. And a lot of the big businessmen were telling me, Brian, you have the network, you're a smart kid. Why not try building a business? You have to take care of your team, you have to take care of your people, because when they grow, you grow as well.
Hey guys, today we're meeting an exciting person. He is from Philippines. He's running successful businesses in Philippines. He has a really good education. He studied in the US, traveled a lot. He's a speaker. So very interesting and inspiring person as well here. So we're gonna meet him. We're gonna see his office. We're gonna see his company, which he's running. Very inspiring. I'm super excited. Let's check it out. Alright, so we're in Brian's office, and here is an interesting story because he is running two companies here. Like, what are they are?
So I work as the CEO of Time Master Watches, which I founded back in 2017. And then I also work as the CFO for Barley and Craft, which is a beer distribution company. So right now you're in the office of Time Master Watches. But it's a really big office. We just moved here. We decided to invest in a bigger office so that we could accommodate the different businesses that I've invested in and that I'm working with. Most of the businesses that I work on are startups, mostly because I believe in encouraging entrepreneurship in the Philippines. You know, to diversify the market, give people more jobs.
So, basically how hard it is to really build the team here, and how you're finding as well people to work.
It's actually not that hard to build a team. The difficult part is building a quality team. Yeah. So it's hard to find the right kind of talent because everyone's talented in a different way.
Yeah, I can say it from my experience. Like, people here are very hardworking, very loyal. They want to actually help the business because if they're working in the business, they feel like it's their own business as well, and they want to give as much output as possible. So. I totally agree with that.
Well, that's where you're lucky because the Philippines, one, we have so many college graduates. So a lot of people with good skill. And then on the flip side, we also have a younger population. So a lot of people are young and willing to look for work. But more importantly, the people that you're getting are quality. Filipinos are generally warm, happy, hardworking. So when people outsource, a lot of them like to outsource to the Philippines, which means that for entrepreneurs like myself and other people who are just starting their businesses, this is a great place to start. Hey guys, so we're gonna steal the office for a bit.
Hey, so actually wanted to Chris is a partner for Brian. Just wanted to introduce him. It was a funny fact because he actually bought my service on Fiverr a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, and he arrived to me. He's like, "Oh, I'm actually using your service." I'm like, "Okay." So I was like immediately reading how is it going? So, and he was happy. So it's actually interesting how people are, how the small world is. A lot of obviously things I want to ask you, but first thing what comes to me is you have a very strong education and you put a lot of actually effort into education. You have those from Harvard, from MIT you mentioned, from Columbia University, like those universities at the top in the US. And for, I would say, young entrepreneurs, for them it's not very common, like they're underestimating the education. They're thinking they should drop out from college and start those companies like Mark Zuckerberg or doing. So what you can say in terms of just like education, how valuable it is for?
Well, I understand the frustration a lot of people have with education. You know, that for some people, it's a really difficult process to be able to go from grade school all the way to college and take your master's and everything. But the thing about education is, it's a tool. And like any other tool, unless it's used properly, it's completely useless. Like you're not going to take a phone and use that to suddenly start trying to drive your car, right? Well, unless you invent an app that does that for you. But my point is, education, if used properly, can maximize your potential as an entrepreneur. Now, yes, there are the examples of Mark Zuckerberg and you know, Steve Jobs and like other people, but the reality is that's like one or two entrepreneurs.
It's true.
There are actually millions of other entrepreneurs out there who have become millionaires and billionaires. A good example is Warren Buffett, who actually is from Columbia University, studied at the business school there. He's a billionaire. You don't hear people saying like, oh, stay in school because Warren Buffett stayed in school. But you hear them saying, oh, drop out of school because like, you know, all these other young entrepreneurs have done it. The thing is, what separates them is these guys knew what they were doing before they dropped out. Like they already had a business model, a concept, something that was hitting the ground
already
running.
working.
Exactly. It's not like Mark Zuckerberg quit school before he designed Facebook. Like he was actually in Harvard when he was building it, right? And he met some of the people that helped him with the project in Harvard. But that's my point. School provides you several things. One, it gives you your basic training. Let's not pretend like grade school and high school weren't important for you to figure out how to talk to other people and do your basic math, which accounting's important later on when you start your business.
Yeah, it's very important. I can tell it from my
super
experience.
important,
Yeah.
right? But that's one. It gives you your basics, right? When you get to college, it's important to have an idea of what you want to do, right? Because if you don't know what you want to do in college, then your college degree is a waste. Because you go there and you graduate with the degree and then you realize, well, now I don't know what to do with it because I don't really like the field I'm in. That's when it becomes a waste. That's one. Two is the opportunity to go beyond that. Like if you take your master's, then you really specialize in what you want to do. You meet your network of people who are just like you. A lot of people who take their master's in business school absolutely love it because they meet other entrepreneurs who are like-minded like them. I'm a bit of a nerd. So I took my master's in climate and society at Columbia University because I really believe that as an entrepreneur and as a citizen, in the future, what's happening in terms of climate change will affect us all. Like for example, here in the Philippines, one way to look at it is in Metro Manila, we have a water crisis right now. There's not enough water for the city.
Yeah, I heard about when we arrived to a hotel actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Yeah, so there's that issue. That's a climate change issue. It's too hot, the droughts are too long, there's not enough rain. Now there are two ways to look at it. You can look at it as an issue that you can't solve and you panic, or you can look at it as an entrepreneur. This is an opportunity to figure out, okay, what's the problem? The problem is people don't have enough water. How do we provide fresh water to these people? That's where entrepreneurship comes in. So even if it's a degree like climate and society, which seems really far from entrepreneurship, there are business opportunities.
And what about like your watch? Obviously, you know, companies like Tissot, there's like huge companies. What makes your watch, for example, different compared to others, or what uniqueness it has?
Well, the Philippines in particular is an archipelago. And I mean, as you visited, there are beaches here, diving, surfing. So for me, I wanted to build a watch, but I wanted to build a watch that was relative to the Philippines. It makes sense for the country. So the first watch we came out with was a dive watch. Because if people are going to visit the Philippines and they want to take home a souvenir, it would make sense to have a dive watch from a country where they probably went swimming. So so that's our first attempt to really market and build the brand.
By the way, on your are you wearing the?
Yes, this is a Time Master Poseidon. It's the steel watch.
It's not the first one, right?
Actually, this is the first. The thing is, this was a variation that we never released in the market.
Oh, okay. So it's limited edition, kind of.
Yeah, it's literally there's only one.
Wow.
Because when we were making the watches, in order for us to compete with the market, we actually had to go to these places, and like we had to go to a design house in Hong Kong so that we could do the digital design. Literally, when you walk into the office, they have an archive of all the watches that have ever been made. And they ask you like, what do you like from this watch? What do you like from that? And then from there, we had to negotiate with people in Japan for the movement to make sure that it was a good movement. And then we went to China to look for an assembly line that had quality. So actually, you brought up Tissot earlier. The same factory that assembles for Tissot and for Daniel Wellington and these bigger brands ended up being the same assembly line that we participated in. So let's say you buy a watch. How many times have you bought a watch? In a year, how many times did you buy a watch?
Actually, I'm not. I actually don't wear a watch, so for me, it's
well,
like
we have to change that.
Yeah,
but,
for me, it's very not really frequently. Maybe
Right.
I'll just buy, I don't know, once, and if it's, I look for solution kind of like sporty. At the same time, I can wear it on everyday basis. So for me, it's kind of like I'm trying to find this one. So I know some people wear, for example, casual ones where they just want to wear them with suits, and the other ones they have like sporty ones. So for me, just I try to find one for everything. Yeah.
Well, that's really what we wanted to do with this watch. We wanted to have a watch that you could take with you to the workplace, but you could also go out and be active with it. So if you're going to go out surfing or swimming, hiking, whatever, this is the same watch that you would be able to take. The watch market is like this. When you buy a watch, you usually buy it as a gift or to celebrate an occasion, which is why I love watches. They commemorate something. But more than that, it's more like when you buy a watch and you're happy with it, it's something that either A, you pass over to the next generation, or B, your family becomes kind of loyal to that brand. Like if your dad bought a Rolex before, more or less you're probably going to do the same and then pass that to your son. So that's kind of the legacy that we want to build with the company. So we didn't go with fast moving watches. We went with like, we're okay with selling a few this month, but let's make it quality, rather than go for the quantity.
So you have an office here, right? So people usually, this is mostly operations. Do you have like offline places where you sell those watches?
Well, yes, we partnered with a company called Washington Watches here in the Philippines. So I think they're the official distributor for Rolex and a lot of the bigger brands. So we have 2 branches in the north and the south that provide for us, and then we also have a few smaller stores. I don't know if haberdasheries are big in Russia. Like it's like one of those places where a guy would go to get a haircut, get tailored, get their shoes made and everything. So it's a very gentleman's kind of like hair salon kind of thing. So we have one, and then like you mentioned, you want a watch that you can wear when you're active and everything, right? So there are 2 branches of Anytime Fitness that carry our watch as well.
Wow.
So yeah, so we're pretty exposed here.
Do you sell it online as well?
Yes.
Is it like online is bigger than offline, or?
Actually, it's almost like 99.9% of the sales are online.
Wow.
The weird thing that we notice with our customers is they'll go to the shops, try it on, look at it, and then they'll leave, and then order it online anyway.
You mentioned you're also investing in some of in project companies. So maybe what companies you're investing and why you're deciding to make the decisions?
Right. So I told you earlier about Time Master and Barley and Craft, which is a beer distribution company. I've also invested in Stopes Media, which is social media marketing. TrueFan, which is social media analytics. And then, this is completely unrelated to those, but like I have a small bar that I'm a partner in, a resto bar here in Makati, because, well, as I was telling you earlier, it's actually really boring to have all my meetings here. And a lot of the people I work with are younger, so they want to go out, they want to have a good time, and I honestly don't want to be spending that much money unless it's in something I've invested in. So I figured it'd be a good idea. And these are just the things that are currently established. There are other projects that are up and coming. Like I invested in a barber shop, which I know is really odd, but the reason why I invested in this barber shop is while I was in New York, I met the owner of Filthy Rich Barbers. So Rich Mendoza, who's a Filipino American, but he made it in the US. This guy is the guy who cuts the hair of like Drake Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah, I heard. I think
Yeah.
Richmond Mendoza.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I
He's
see.
he's pretty big now.
Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
and he's a really cool guy, and he's Filipino American, and he's like, I want to come back. I want to go back to my roots. I want to visit the Philippines, and I want to set up my business there. I made it in New York. There's no reason why I can't come home and make it in Manila. And I was like, let's make it happen. So we're bringing over his barbershop here because, well, I mean, when you've been listed by David Beckham as one of the best barbershops in the world,
Crazy, yeah.
you probably should come home and bring that here. So
yeah, I see you're taking those opportunities as well. Like maybe what are the things that are super important for entrepreneur? Like you mentioned about like taking those risks, maybe, right?
Yes.
A little bit as well. What else could you say for as a suggestion?
Well, you're right. A lot of it is about the risk. You can't be an entrepreneur and just never take risks. It's all about the risks, but you have to be able to manage it. Because there's a level between, honestly, there's a level between being stupid and spending money on random things. And then there's also the level of taking calculated risks. I think that's the most important thing for young entrepreneurs now is don't just throw your money anywhere. Don't just waste your time. Money you can always get back. Time you can't. I have several businesses and it's very difficult for me to be able to do that. But that's where having a good team comes in. Because the thing that like a lot of people don't talk about is when you're an entrepreneur, you usually see the face of the company, like Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
What you don't see are all the people around him that make the company a success. You see Tesla, it's a big company, and you're thinking, well, gee, I only see the face of that company, but that company was made up of a bunch of other people. So you have to remember that when you're building a company, you need a good team. Honestly, if it wasn't for the people that you met earlier, like you guys saw Chris, and the girl who was beside Chris is Faye,
Yeah.
who is my asset manager. These are people that if I wasn't working with them, these investments would not push through.
So what maybe influenced you, for example, in a way of like maybe who influenced you to be like that?
Well, actually, my background, I was a political science graduate from Ateneo de Manila University. So that's a Jesuit university here in the Philippines. Great education, great people. And I really thought my line of work would be in public service. So I spent the first year out of college working in the Senate. And then a year after that, I ended up working at CNN as a reporter. And then after that, I joined a presidential campaign. But the campaign didn't go the way we were hoping. And so I personally felt, I guess I was really sad with the way that it worked out. And I didn't get to make the impact that I wanted to make in the political scene. And the thing is, when you go around for politics, you also meet a lot of businessmen. And a lot of the big businessmen were telling me, Brian, you have the network, you're a smart kid. Why not try building a business? And it's something I never really thought about before. I mean, coming from politics and going into business, it's not something that just happens.
Yeah, it's completely different
It's
field.
like
Yeah, it's
completely different.
Yeah.
So, but they were right. It's the one thing that I hadn't done. I was already doing all sorts of other things, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll consider it. But how do I even get started? And they were telling me, Brian, pick something that you're passionate about. You saved up some money. Use your savings first so that you can float yourself, and just study it. It doesn't have to be a big project. You just have to learn how to be an entrepreneur. And that doesn't mean like learning how to do all the paperwork and stuff. That means the ability to find the opportunities. That means the ability to network. That means the ability to take risks and stomach loss. Because it's not always, you would know.
It's not always like this.
Yeah.
It's like this. First is like this, and
Yep.
then it goes like this. So
Yep.
it's not
For
always
sure.
like- yeah, that's-
So yeah, definitely manage those risks and learn how to take a loss. But also, it's getting out of that comfort zone. So that's basically how it started. And so like, what do you care about enough to actually do that? And I was like, well, I like watches. And they're like, okay, then study the market, figure out how they build these products, look at other companies that have done that, started from the ground up, and follow that pattern, and then find a way to make yourself unique in the market. So I was like, okay. So after like 1 year of like networking, going to different countries, meeting different people, almost running out of cash, it eventually got to the point where I had a product. And I can't really explain the feeling when you actually, it's almost like you have a kid, because you put so much time and effort into it and you finally have the finished product and you're like, I can't believe I'm going to market with this.
Maybe top 3 things you can suggest for just young entrepreneurs want to start, just what do you say?
So first is, if you're going to start a business, don't worry about the capital right away. Be smart, study the market, look for other things, other products, other services that you can provide that no one else can, which gives you a premium and the ability to lessen cost on your end and increase returns later on. So that's 1. 2 is, never turn down an opportunity. I mean, okay, if you're super tired and you can't go out anymore, like you're barely able to function, yeah, fine, sleep. But you never know. You never know when that dinner that you said no to is actually gonna have that that one VC that's gonna fund your project. Or I've met so many people because I went to an event or a dinner, or I met up with a friend, and at the time I was feeling uncomfortable because I don't really know people at the event. I don't really know too much about the place I'm going to, like when I went to Nepal, or when I went to Switzerland, things like that, or when I went to look for the factory in China. I didn't know anyone, but the point is, I put myself out there, and each time there's always been at least one person that turned out to be a good opportunity. Like for example now, this is the first time we're meeting. Your marketing team reached out via Instagram, of all things.
True. Instagram is working, by the way.
Yeah, Instagram is working. And see, that's my point. Like I could have said no, but now I've met an entrepreneur who's international, has excellent services, a great team that I just met today, and I'm looking forward to the opportunities that can present itself. So those 2, and then I guess the third one is when you build your team, and I think this is probably the most important thing, because like when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of always think about yourself a lot. So when you're an entrepreneur and your business is growing, remember that your people have to grow with you. You know, you have to give them opportunities also. You have to help them grow as individuals. If they have projects, try to help them. Faye, who is a really great asset manager, when we first started working together, I told her, I'm sorry, but I can't match what the big corporations are probably going to give you. What I can give you that those corporations can't is, I will give you mentorship, I will help you network, and if there is a project that you're interested in building, I will help you build it. And I don't think any of those corporations will give that to you. And sure enough, she joined the team and she ended up becoming a partner in our beer distribution company, Barley and Craft. And she's an excellent member of the team. She's really helping with the marketing, and she's really happy because it's a product that she can call her own. And that's what I mean. You have to take care of your team. You have to take care of your people, because when they grow, you grow as well.
Yeah, this is awesome. I think those are actually I'm super impressed, because the way you structure it is like just amazing. So this is awesome, Brian. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
This is a
Thank you for coming over.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for welcoming us, and I'm sure in the future you're just gonna keep achieving all these heights. You're gonna keep crushing it. So
I hope so.
And we're gonna achieve a lot of good stuff.
Well, hopefully we get to work together in the future.
Yes, of course.
All right,
Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you.